Good morning, everyone. It's Tuesday, March 17th, St. Patrick's Day. Happy St. Patrick's Day to everyone. Happy to be here. I started out a little bit late this morning. I just got into the office a few minutes ago. I was actually in the hospital late last night with my father-in-law, and I decided to sleep in this morning. And it had nothing to do with the coronavirus, but it was still pretty serious. He's diabetic and had to get his foot got infected, and we had to take him emergency to the hospital. And I didn't get back till really late last night, and just was totally away from the computer. So I'm here now and just checking out my trade. And just a little side note about the hospital visit. In my area, which is in western Pennsylvania, there's not really been any coronavirus cases. We actually talked to the doctor when we were there, and he said a lot of people have been tested because they thought they had it, but no one has came back positive yet. So that's pretty interesting. But anyways, just try to stay safe and don't get caught up in the panic, and I think people are going to be okay, and we're going to be able to recover. And for those businesses that are suffering and hurting, and if some of you are losing your jobs and things like that, it can be really hard. And I feel for you, because I know that's actually what got me started into trading and running this trading business, is because I lost my job in 2008 during the big market crash in '08, because I was in construction, and I was doing construction work and there was no jobs available. Like all the work just totally dried up, and I was on unemployment and could not get a job. I applied to so many different places, and then I just started getting interested in Forex trading. And that's how this whole thing got started. So you never know when a bad thing could actually turn into a good opportunity if you have the right mindset. Now that I look back on it, I'm saying to myself, well, I'm really glad that I got laid off. It wasn't fun at the time because I had 4 kids. I have 9 kids now, but I had 4 then. I was really upset about losing my work because I needed to take care of these kids and my wife. But it worked out. I just kept going and didn't give up, and worked out pretty good. And now I'm very thankful that I'm not doing construction anymore. I like that job. It was good. It provided. I'm really thankful for the people that do it, but I like doing this a lot more. This has been a much better job. So, okay. So anyways, let's go back to the trade. So you guys have been following me. This is trade. You know what? I forgot to update the title because I just came in late. But this is actually trade 16, so let's go ahead and pull up the spreadsheet. Thank you guys for hanging out there with me and having fun on this thing. I just went through a brutal 4 trade in a row losing streak, which was just crushing me. You can see my total profit was 10,000, and now it was at 1.14 and has dropped down to 10. But I've finally got a winning trade back on, and this thing is looking really nice. As a matter of fact, it's looking really good. It is currently going to push into resistance here. This is up 3,100, or no, it's not up. It's going to be up $3,183. I've got some serious momentum on this thing. And so really, because of the momentum and the current price action, I'm really seriously considering pulling this up a little bit. Let's take a look at just some things here on the weekly. It currently hit a very important area. If we look at this, 91, you can see. And it is in a sideways, very long sideways channel here. Look how long it's been in here, since 15. The last time it was here, it popped all the way to the top. And the last time it was here, it popped all the way top. So why not let this thing ride out a little bit? I've honestly made good profits on this 16 trade challenge. So why not try to let this thing go? Let's see, what could I do? This would be a $13,000 trade here. So what I'm going to do, let's see how many pips I'm up. I'm up 135 pips. So the challenge is going to be, if I hit my take profit, let's go back to where I was. Let's go move that back. Okay. So, so close right now. I better be careful. I don't want to take it out. So I'm actually right now, I'm only 12 pips, like 12 pips away. So if we go up to the 12 pips, I could make 3,000. So the key is I have to think about what I'm going to lock in. So I'm up currently 135, close to 150 would have been my take profit, right? So I did a 3-to-1 initially, but now if I lock in, my original stop loss was 40 pips, right? It was about $1,000. So I could actually lock in the 50 pips here. Okay, so now I've got 1-to-1 locked in. So at the very minimum, so at this point now, before I could have hit my 3,000, but now I'm either going to make a 1,000, or if I let this thing trail, maybe if I can get it to get some more momentum, I could then trail it again and lock in the 3-to-1. So if I can get it to go up, let's see, so 50 pip stop, let's just say went 6-to-1. 5 times 6 is 300. So when it gets to 300 pips, that's a 6-to-1 risk to reward ratio. And if we get to 300 pips, that would be a $5,000 trade, which would be pretty good. So I could try to go for that as well, or I can just be trailing the stop as it goes in. And right now, it really looks like I probably would have hit the take profit. I basically moved it just as it was crushing into the take profit. It would be literally, I'd really be taking my $3,000 profit right now as we speak. I would be taking that profit, okay? But I'm not. I'm going to let this thing ride. And my main thinking is I hate giving back profits. I love to crank that 3,000. I'd get my profit up to 13,000. I'd have a really nice trade log for the 20 trade challenge. It'd be looking really good. But this momentum is really going well right now, and the volatility in these markets are really good. I don't know how long this is going to continue, but it could continue for some time, and I want to be able to capitalize on this volatility. And what I mean by volatility is this consistent market movement and trends. It's been really great. So I'm hoping that some of you guys have been able to take advantage of these moves as well. And as you can see by looking at this, my winning percentage is pretty atrocious. I've not done a great job of picking great trades. Hopefully I'll be able to work on that. But the good news here is I have locked in $1,000 right now, and I could have taken the 3, take this back up to 13.6. No, it's 10.6, so 3,000 would be, 13.6 be good. It'd be popping back up here. But I'm just going to hold off on it. Okay, and now, like I said, I just got in, so I actually haven't looked at any trades yet. I bet the euro is dropping, if I'm aware of anything. Yeah, the euro's dropping. And you guys remember I actually took a long yesterday, which was really a stupid idea. But it's a good thing I had a tight stop, because I would be crushed right now. So I love it when I get a trade wrong and the thing goes 500 pips against me, because then I'm like, okay, I'm glad I had a tight stop on that one. Now, if I would have gone the other way, that would have been a whole nother story. But I was looking at the U.S. yen as well. Let's see. I was thinking about shorting that, and this U.S. yen actually hasn't moved much. Been kind of steady. Pound dollar, man, this thing is crazy. Now, so do you remember, if for those of you that have been on this challenge, do you remember when I hit that pound dollar and hit my target here? If I would have held this out, it would have been 585 additional pips. I got in right here. I would be up 830 pips right now had I done what I just did with the Swiss. Should've, woulda, could've. But we're going to take advantage of these market moves and really try to get some of these bigger winners. And so hopefully with this pound Swiss, we're going to do that. So right now, I'm going to try to look at a different pair. Pound New Zealand. What's Bitcoin doing? Bitcoin is consolidating. I was thinking about getting in over here. Still looks really weak to me. It did cross over, but I'm not seeing a bigger strength. I'm not seeing any kind of strength on this push. So I'm thinking it might go down again. If the Bitcoin, I mean, you hear all kinds of negative news about this, but I try not to pay too much attention to the news. I just want to see what the price action's doing, because I believe that news can help move prices, but I think that if I just follow the price action, I'll be in good shape, and that's always been the case for me. Okay, so pound New Zealand. So the pound has been pretty weak across the board. The pound Swiss has been a really good setup. I mentioned earlier. You could see how nice that was. 1,000 pips, great trade. It's starting to slow down, but we never know. I mean, this pound. Look at this move. I mean, this move was 1,500 pips. So this move is 1,000. This could move a whole nother level, right? And a lot of times you'll get this stalling and then it just drops. Okay, so, but that doesn't mean we can't catch a big bounce too, because after this 1,500 move, it went another 1,500 right back. So that's the cool thing about these trades. Is the price movement can really get us some good profits. And so we just want to position ourselves. The whole thing with this is position ourselves to catch these big moves, which is what I just have done with the USD Swiss. I positioned myself to catch a really big move, and now I have a lot of cushion. If we look at this, I got one locked in, and I've got 80-some pips of cushion. It could easily give this back, and I get my 1,000. And then I'd look back and say it was a bad decision, but you know, I'm still happy that I was able to get this trade. We took this at the close yesterday, and it wasn't a real strong move at the time. It actually ended up going down pretty strong. It's a good thing I decided to give it a little bit tighter stop. Where did I put my stop? I put my stop. I gave it a decent stop here, 30, 45 pips. So I actually had plenty of room, but you know, it dropped. It dropped a little bit. So anyways, I'm in position. I've set myself up for the possibility to catch a big move. If you don't give yourself the possibility, it's never going to happen. You have to plan for the big moves. That's what I do. I look at charts and I'm like, okay, how can I catch a big move, a large move, a move that can carry some distance? Like I was looking at that pound Swiss. You know, how can I catch 1,000 pip move? I believe my biggest trade on this series was my first one, which was this euro dollar, and it was only 300-400 pips. So I can do a better job of this. I can do a much better job of this. Let's see. So how can we catch a big move? You know, we look at this Euro ZAR. This is an interesting, I took one of these trades early on, if you remember, and I lost it. I took it somewhere in here looking for a retrace. Could potentially drop down again because we saw that big euro dollar move. The ZAR's not strong like the dollar has been, but you know, there's a potential for a lot of movement here. Even if we go back to this line, we got a big movement potential. lots of pips here. The pound New Zealand has some big moves. If we look at the price action here, hasn't been as big as the pound Swiss. Well, actually, this move was 2,000, so bigger than the pound Swiss, but just not as straight. But right now, if we look at this thing, it's kind of in a little bit of a channel here, I think. Right? We got a channel. You see that? And it bounced off. And so what's it doing on the 4 hour? 4 hours dropping, negative divergence. The divergence here is still pointing down. The last time, so one of the things you got to notice on the MACD is the last time it bumped into the trend line, this was overextended. But this time when it hits, it's actually not. So that's something to consider when you look at these trend line bounces. When you're thinking about getting in, you want to see, on the daily, you want to see it a little bit more overextended than me. So that's one thing that would say, okay, don't take this trade. But I've always got lots of other options. So here we're looking at bounced off. We got some strength. There's a 50-period moving average. It popped above. It just tested it. But look at every time it pops above, it gets rejected, 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 rejected. So, and now the pattern has continued. It's rejected one more time. However, we've got rising MACD here, about ready to cross. So if we got another burst here, and it crossed over one more time without a full rejection to the downside, I might take this trade. And with the pound New Zealand, you got to have a little bit bigger of a stop. I don't know. I might go with a 200 pip stop loss. But to get, this is 800 pips. It could easily do this. I mean, look at what it did here in one day. It went 700 pips, just boom, spike. So you got to be worried about that a little bit. Not worried. I don't think we should ever be worried as traders, but just be aware of what's going on. That, yeah, the market could spike 700 pips. Let's look at this pound Swiss. This thing is really seriously down. The thing about it is you can watch it and wait till it starts showing some reversal setups to try to get a good reversal. Still pretty far away from that. Let's take a look at this CAD yen, because I've been watching this thing for a while, and it's been in this range, and it hasn't gotten out of it. I took a couple trades on it. It hasn't done well for me. But remember, when you get a long consolidation, eventually it's going to break out. And so what I'm still noticing here is that we have this trend line. So there's two things that this could do. Okay, this could be what is known as, ding, ding, ding. What are you guys going to tell me? This could be what's known as a bear flag. And I'm just drawing these lines in here, right? And so what happens when you get a bear flag? This. It breaks and it goes down hard. That's a good setup. Bear flags are awesome. So we could see that happen, right? And I always like to run these scenarios in my mind about what could happen on the good, what could happen on the bad. So like that, right? So it could easily pop right back up here and then drop hard. That's one thing that can happen. But bear flags, they're good patterns, but they're not perfect patterns. There's no such thing as a perfect pattern because anything can happen. It could also be a reversal setting up. It could be getting strength. It could be starting to, every time it comes up here, too many sellers are they're turning to the buy side, and then it just pushes up. Right, everybody that was in short is dumping their positions, and they're adding more, and they're getting squeezed, and then the next thing you know, we get a big shot to the upside because everybody's expecting a bear flag. One of the things you got to realize in markets, when everybody's expecting it, that's when it usually does the exact opposite. So that's why I always plan on this money management thing, because I know that my patterns are good and they will work and they're useful, but they're not perfect. What really carries people to success in trading is their money management and their trade management, and allowing their trades to carry them into big profits. That's always what I've seen work. So, with that being said, yeah, we could get a bear flag here and it could go down, or it could pop up, it could come up here, it could do a head fake and then take off. So I would still be willing to take this because it's rising up and I'm getting a nice upward move. And from there, we could, if I just entered this right now, we've got a 40 pip stop with a 300 and some pip target. So 4 times 3 is 120. And so that would be, and you times that by 2, 240. 240 is a 4 to 1 right in here. So 5 to 1 is definitely achievable. A 40 pip stop, or 50 pip stop at 5 to 1. So you do 5 times 50 is 250 pips. So if we got up to 300, you're definitely over 5 to 1. And you got to forgive my math. That's definitely not my strong point. I always like to pull up a calculator, but I'm just kind of going through it right now. And let me see. I remember early on I took a New Zealand yen trade. And let's go ahead and look at the chart here and see if I can recreate that from my memory. If you remember, I took a New Zealand yen, very similar fashion to what I'm talking about in the CAD yen. I had a bounce play off of this channel that I drew. And now that I look at it in hindsight, it probably wasn't the greatest channel. It touched 1, 2, 3 times. 3, then the 4th. And remember, I bought and ended up losing. And I'm glad I had a tight stop because that thing went 900 pips against me. Oh, what a bad trade. But it's great to look at in hindsight, because now I can look at the CAD yen scenario and say, oh, is it another bear flag like the CAD yen and it's just about ready to drop off? Like, let's go back to the CAD yen now and say, oh, look at the daily. Same type of thing. That's a mess, but you get what I'm talking about. Let's go back to that New Zealand yen again real quick, if I can find it. Okay, so if we go back to the hourly time frame and take a look at what actually was happening there, you could see, let me zoom up just a bit. Sometimes it can be hard to get your bearings on these charts. Okay, here we go. So you can see that there were some very similar attributes. It was making higher lows, but these lows were dropping, but then a higher low, and it was just in this range. And then finally, it just broke out and took off to the other side. So yeah, this bear flag worked. The CAD yen's looking a little stronger, I think, to be honest. But again, we still can't tell for sure. So it could be just waiting for another drop. I don't know. But right now, if I look at just taking, because I'm just trying to look at what the current price is doing, right? And so right now, if we get a pop-up here, there's definitely a possibility for taking that trade. And on the reverse side, if it shoots out and breaks to the downside, there's definitely a potential that it could go 145 pips down to this low and then beyond. I don't usually just stop trades because there's a point of resistance, because a lot of times if you get good momentum, it'll crush right through that, right? So that's why I extended this one. You see, this is right at resistance right now. And so one of the things that you got to understand is trying to figure out what other traders are doing. There's probably other traders in here right now, and everybody's going short. Not everybody, but a lot of traders are going short right here because of this resistance point. And when they're doing that and the market keeps pushing up, Well, then people are then adding more shorts, and then then they have to sell, then they panic sell, and then all of those shorts get squeezed as the price keeps going. And then that momentum kicks, and then the next thing you know, tomorrow you get another bar that looks just like this one. And then I go right into my $5,000 profit. But I'm actually going to try to hold off a little bit more, see if we can get 10,000. See if we can do it. You're never going to get a big winner if you don't try for it. All right. So, and I honestly have nothing to lose here. That's the thing either. I talked about a few videos before, as I called it the position of power. I've got nothing to lose because I'm already got $10,000 in profit, and this trade is locked in. I literally have nothing to lose, except if it comes back here, I can lose potential gain. It's important to remember that losing potential profit is actually a big deal also, because the potential profit I have here, I'm up $3,000. My potential profit is an additional $7,000. But if this comes down and hits me, I lose the $3,000 that I could have had, that if I just taken it. And over time, when you hit a couple big ones like this, it'll pay off. If I hit like 3, 4, 5 of these $1,000 trades, and it can be a little discouraging, but then I hit that 110,000, then that makes up for like 4 or 5 of those, right? And so just for going for the big one makes up for hitting those little $1,000 trades. So just, the mathematics gets on your side, and I like trying to go for it. But you also want to look at your price action and say, okay, is it actually possible? You don't want to try to, because you don't want to try to go for something that is not showing up in the patterns. And that's why I went for this target, because when we go down to a weekly chart, you can see that it is actually happening in these patterns. So the yen, just kind of a big sloppy mess here. Pound New Zealand is dropping back down. This could be a potential short play as well if we get the downside. I like these channels, but when they break, they're nice trades as well. So I'm going to be looking at this one for both directions, and I'm just kind of talking right now, teaching, getting you guys your feedback. Let me know how you're trading everything. Just because I want to try to get a good trade. That's kind of what I'm doing now. I'm looking for something, because when you're doing the trading challenge, it can be hard to find something that's really on point. This is gold right now, just going down. Looking could break to past this 50 period moving average. Australian dollar been very weak. Not really anywhere near where I'd want to go for a long, like a little bit of momentum. So Euro ZAR, very strong, very overextended. If we get a break of this 4-hour time frame, could be a potential short. It is breaking now on the hourly, and we're dropping here on the hourly. Okay, so I think I'm going to take this one. Let me go back to the CAD yen real quick. CAD yen is not really ready on the hourly. Let's look at a 15-minute. Not really anything happened. I would still consider this trade if I could get a little burst here. The Euro ZAR, though, is looking decent right now. So I'm going to go ahead and take this. So let's go. This is going to be a little bit crazy to figure out on the calculation, so let's bear with me here. because so it's 0.6. Let's look at this here. I cannot see it. Euro TRY. Is there no Euro ZAR on here? Okay. So it said it was 60 cents. Per pip. So let's just do the math on that, because these pips are so huge. So let me pull this up. So it's 60 cents, and then how many pips would the trade actually be? So we're entering here. The stop loss would be 283. So let's do that. 0.6 times 283 equals 169. So if that's one lot, that's $169. So we'd want to go with 3 lots. 3 times 0.6 equals that, times 283 is 509. So I'm just going to go with 2 because this is pretty crazy, and that way I'll at least get to see what it looks like too, just to make sure that the calculations are proper. Oh my goodness, $3,000? Yeah, that calculation was off. Okay, so let's take a look. So I'm going to put so I've got 283 right now, and I'm going to fix this. I can't risk 3,000. 290 times 3 to 1 is $870, or 870 pips. So if I move this down to 870 pips, where's that at? That's 870. So this is 870. So risking 3,000 to make 9,000 is 3 to 1. So I got to figure out though how to eliminate this big risk, because I got 2 options. So I made a mistake on my calculations, and so this will be a good lesson for you guys. If you make a mistake, you could either close out now, because I'm up a little bit. I could either close out now, or I could just drop my stop loss to an acceptable level, which is pretty tight. So I was way off on the math. So my stop loss here is now 82 pips. And maybe it was maybe that's not 250 pips, maybe it was 2,000 pips. Maybe that's why I messed up the math. But anyhow, well, let's try that. So if it was 283, and then if it was 2,830 times 0.6 is 16 times 2. Okay, so that's where I messed up. I actually misread the little calculator on here. That's where I messed that up. So this take profit is actually 800 pips. So we got 800 pips. Let's do the math. 800 pips. 800 times 0.6 is 480, and so we go 1.2 times 800 is 960. So that's what happened. So I messed that up. Okay, so on the hourly, It's a little tight. The good thing is we got some good momentum carrying us down. The 4 hour is looking good. It is into a resistance point, so this thing could easily whip me out. So I could just decide to get out because I don't like the trade. But before I actually make a decision, I want to continue to look at certain possibilities. So right now I'm at $1,000 in risk and my target is 10,000. So right now it's a 10 to 1. So am I willing to take this because it's a 10 to 1? Maybe. I really like the possibility of it going down here because it's been up overextended. It keeps trying to push down, and it does. So a 10 to 1 is a great opportunity. So that on the good side, that's a good thing. I would have before probably only taken one lot here, moved my stop up, and then it would have only been a 5 to 1 down here. And so that's kind of a benefit for taking a tighter stop. But again, the problem with taking this stop too tight is that it can whip you out. But right now I'm actually got some really good momentum. I'm actually already up 580 pips. Really? So I'm actually already almost at a 1 to 1, to be honest. And now it's whipping around a little bit. So yeah, it could still easily go against me. But if it goes, what I might look at is, let's see. So 800 pips is my 822 is my stop loss. Now, if it continues and goes to this 1600, or let's just 800 times 3, 822 times 3 equals 2466. So how far am I from a 3 to 1? So let's just try that. 2466. So this would be a 3 to 1. So it makes it a lot more doable, I think. But again, now I'm already getting the reversal here. Where is this? So again, just a simple retracement could take me out, which is, again, one of the reasons why these tight stops cannot be good. But the good news is it's got this little deal here. But you see, when a price retests, a lot of times it'll come right back up into this level. It'll come right back up into the support here. It'll come into this area. So at this point, it whipped me out, and I'm right at break even right now already. I was up at one point probably almost $800. So let's look at this on a 1 minute. And so on the 1 minute, we actually do have this moving average to act as a slowdown. So on the 1 minute time frame, it actually looks pretty good. If we could get another, come up into here, get rejected and come down, break these lows, very possible to hit a 3 to 1. Or I could just get whipped right out. Again, we look at both scenarios. But remember, I already have $1,000 locked in as we speak on this USD Swiss. And I'm currently up about 3,000 on this trade. And I have $1,000 locked in. So at this point, I'm basically at break even. Well, this trade's break even, but my current worst case scenario on this trade is break even, because if the USD Swiss hits the $1,000 and this thing hits the loss. So I think I'm just going to go ahead and take my chances on it and hope that it will reverse here. Let's take a look at the CAD yen. CAD yen didn't do anything. Let's see about the pound New Zealand. Always looking for additional opportunities here. Pound New Zealand's not really doing anything right now. The hourly is dropping. Nice downward momentum here. What's the euro dollar doing? Euro dollar is bouncing a little bit, which would probably explain why the euro ZAR is bouncing. But okay, hope I haven't just been rambling. Hope you guys can actually understand this kind of stuff. Hopefully it's been helpful to everybody. But, I'm on trade number 17, Euro, ZAR. You got to watch me live, make a mistake. My take profit here is 3,000, but I'm actually going to switch it up probably. This one is 10,000. So you guys got to watch me lock in trade. You got to watch me make a mistake. And that's good. I think that's good to see how I respond to that. Trades to go in the challenge. We've got 1, 2, 3. Guys, this has been so much fun. If you've enjoyed this trading challenge, please share this. Hit the like button. Let me know what you've been thinking. You can watch the whole series up here on this link and check the playlist on YouTube. But I'm also posting this on Facebook and on Twitter too, so you can check me out there. On Twitter, it's at Casey Stubbs if you guys like that. I personally am a big fan of Twitter. And on Facebook, it's the Trading Strategy Guides Facebook page. All right, well, that's it for today. Let's check my trade, and I'm already out. Oh, what a bummer. Okay, so much for that. This decision-making process. Okay, well, I'll fill that in later and get all the final details, but I've been on long enough this morning. Hopefully you guys have a great day. And remember, I tell you this after the fact, but this is always for educational purposes. I should have told you before. Don't follow me. If you followed me into that trade, you shouldn't have. Don't follow me. This is educational purposes only. I want you to learn how I think. This is all a nice educational experiment. Okay, well, have a great day, everyone, and we'll see you guys very soon.